Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything going on in the world of sports. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What's happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Due to recent rumblings and reports on Twitter, we may or may not be a notable account on Twitter anymore. It's subject to change. We'll find out.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things going on in the social media, so you definitely want to make sure you're following odphpodcast.com and get all the latest going on, because the social media accounts are all right there. So we'll find out our Twitter status within the next few hours, along with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, we're on there. Also, check out the TeePublic store, the Patreon link. Shout out to all our amazing patrons. The blog section of Parlay Points, the classified section, which has friends of the show, such as 3FN Podcast, the directory, which, Pat, how many providers are we on?
113,000.
Sounds about right to me. I'm not arguing that. Also, we have on the front page of the website the official ballot for 607 TWS's Brody Awards. So if you want to get your vote in, and you definitely do for the best of pro wrestling in 2022, make sure to click on the link and get it in before December 29th to be counted.
Well, let me help you do a little legwork, so some of you might not look. You go right to the webpage, scroll down a little bit. Once you get past the player, it's right there.
Boom. Just click on the link, fill it out. Got to fill out every single questionnaire. We got some votes in already, and it's definitely making the rounds on the web. So you definitely want to make sure your voice is heard for this year's competition, which will be the first show in January. And then the Cheersies are coming out too for the comics.
Hey.
So definitely stay tuned for that, but we'll talk about that on tomorrow's podcast. So you want to make sure you're following on your favorite podcast player, and you won't miss a minute of the content. That's how easy it is. And then also, if you get lost, make sure you use the hashtag ODPHpod on social media, and you can find out everything going on with the ODPH podcast. But kicking off this sports edition, though, as we do each and every week during the National Football League, we recap the week that was with our locks and leaps. So, Pat, kick us off.
Yeah, so we're going to start with my lock, and I chose the Dallas Cowboys to beat the Houston Texans because, well, Houston is the worst team in the NFL, at least by record.
Absolutely.
And they did. However, it was only by the 4 points, winning by the final score of 27-23. Dak Prescott, 24 of 39 for 284 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Davis Mills, 16 of 21 for 175 yards passing, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Damian Pierce led Houston for rushing, 22 carries, 78 yards, 1 touchdown. Ezekiel Elliott led Dallas for rushing with 15 carries, 62 yards, 1 touchdown. Dalton Schultz was the leading receiver for Dallas with 6 catches, 87 yards, no touchdowns. And then Chris Moore led for Houston with 10 catches, 124 yards. God damn. And no wonder he's at the top of the waiver wire this week. And no touchdowns.
Well, this game can be very easily summed up as Dallas slept on Houston. They took them too lightly. And this is a situation that if Dallas is really going to be a contender in the playoffs, which all signs point they're going to go in there, there's no question of that, they need to have a little more sense of urgency when it comes to defeating the lesser talented teams and really make sure that you don't lose your playoff seeding. Because now as we're going into crunch time, this is where it all comes into play. Dallas looked flat. Houston has nothing to lose. They're playing with house money.
Literally.
So the fact they're showing up and giving teams such as Dallas a tough time is very telling of who is really focused on closing out the season strong. Dallas, though, I will admit, had injuries on the defensive side.
Sure.
But they also came up clutch when they needed to, but it's a situation that the offense needed to get rolling quick. It didn't. And when it came up clutch late, it bailed them out because they were on that last-minute drive, too. And that's what sealed the deal for them.
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly it's a win for Dallas, and you can't take that away from them. But this is a little cause for concern, I would say, just because, like we said, it's Houston. They're currently 1-11-1 in the NFL. You know, worst record in the NFL. Likely will have barring anything bizarre happening. You know, the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming draft. And I know that it got mentioned on either the radio I was listening to or SportsCenter or something that like they got a matchup with Philly coming up. So I was like, maybe they got caught looking past Houston and they were looking forward to Philly. Well, not entirely the case because the Philly game's not for another 2 weeks. So this game just all sorts of puzzling because at halftime it was 20-17 in favor of Houston. So clearly Mike McCarthy got in there and probably lit a fire under their ass at halftime because Houston only scored 3 more points the rest of the way, whereas Dallas scored another 10 in the fourth quarter. So hey, it's a win for Dallas. You certainly can't take that away from them. But like I said, it's cause for concern just because you're the Dallas Cowboys. You're supposed to have this great team offensively, this great team defensively. Special teams, hey, it's special teams. I don't think Dallas is really known for their special teams, but hey, it helps. Mm-hmm. But it's cause for concern when you got this team with Houston that you only beat by 4 points. And this is a team that you probably should have beaten by double digits. I'm not going to say 20, 30, at least 2 scores.
They should have beaten by 10.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah. Like that's at the bare minimum, but this team didn't show up. And luckily they pulled it out in the second half and they really locked it in. But if you're going to be doing this type of play in the playoffs, you're going to be a one and done. I'm sorry. This isn't a cause for severe panic, but it is caution for alarm. Mm-hmm. I think you have to definitely say that because the elite teams beat the lesser teams. Mm-hmm. It's just how it goes, folks. Dallas should have absolutely destroyed Houston.
Yeah.
I know that they were favored by 14 going into the... No, that was the opening line.
Okay.
So by the time it was game time, I think it was 17.5.
Yeah.
But that's just a temp in the room of how much this game should have gone in Dallas's favor. Yeah. The fact Houston showed up, I mean, it's any given Sunday, so, it can happen. But if you're a playoff team, let alone one that could sneak in that number 1 spot if things roll in your favor...
Yeah.
This is a very bad game to try selling that case.
Yeah, and I know some people were trying to paint the narrative that, Houston always plays Dallas tough. Do they? I know probably in the Deshaun Watson years they probably did, but, I can't really remember any other time a year where it was like, holy shit, the Houston Texans are really, taking it to the Dallas Cowboys. So, they were keeping up with you. But like I said, this was with Davis Mills, Damian Pierce, Chris Moore, who, I'll be honest, until I looked at the waiver wire, because I need to take a look at the wide receivers for the one playoff matchup I'm in for fantasy. Saw Chris Moore and I went, who the fuck is this guy? Mm-hmm. Nobody on Houston is really like, I need that guy for my fantasy team.
Exactly. This is a situation that Houston might show up. And I think in the early years of the franchise expansion, they made a big deal about it because it was in state for Dallas. But it's never been really considered a major rivalry. I mean, at least not in my opinion. No. So I can't see how you say that. So it's a tough sell. But it goes back to Houston is not a good team.
No.
In any stretch of the imagination. And I think a lot of people were feeling that momentum from the absolute absurdity that was the game against Indianapolis for Dallas, where they dropped 52 on them. So I think people are expecting they should have done it again. And that's a safe bet. But at the same time, Dallas took them too lightly. Yeah. That's the takeaway from this. And now looking at the rest of the schedule, there really isn't a lot of room for error.
No, I mean, because you look at the playoff standings, especially over in the NFC conference, obviously you've got the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the number 1 seed, and they have clinched. Where the heck is the little thing? There it is. They have clinched a playoff berth, so they are in the playoffs. You've got the Dallas Cowboys sitting at the number 5 position, so still, 10-3, so they'll make the playoffs. Just mathematically, they haven't, cross that threshold yet. But they do still have some interesting games left to go because they have the Jacksonville Jaguars this upcoming Sunday. After that, they've got the Philadelphia Eagles at home on Christmas Eve. And then they've got the Tennessee Titans. That is on Thursday, December 29th. And then to close out the year, they have got the Washington Commanders. That is on Sunday, although the time is to be determined because, that could get interesting.
Yeah, that could possibly get flexed. Mm-hmm. Didn't think I would ever say that with Washington this season, but...
There's a couple of games that, I'm just noticing as we go along, the last week of the season, not all the teams, but there's a couple of teams that, that matchup is to be determined, and I think they're waiting to see how things play out before they decide, all right, are we putting this at the 1 o'clock or the 4:30?
Yeah, so definitely stay tuned for that, but for Dallas, I mean... They really have to lock it in this final stretch. The game against Philadelphia is going to be the real benchmark. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that Jacksonville might not sneak one on them next week.
They could.
They might because Jacksonville is going to get in there, and they're playing for a playoff spot too. So they're definitely going to be very hungry for a win. It just depends on what Dallas team shows up. Mm-hmm. So we'll definitely have to stay tuned for that.
And then Houston, hey, thanks for showing up.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing said there.
Yeah. And then we're going to go to my leap because, statistically, I looked at this and I heard a little stat that I went, Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I chose the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat the San Francisco 49ers because, Ken, do you know what the stat is?
What is that stat?
The stat is that in quarterbacks making their first career start in the NFL against Tom Brady, they were, and the keyword is were in that little sentence, 0-6. And I saw the list. I don't have the list in front of me, but just suffice to say, they're 0-6. And so Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, making his first career NFL start against Tom Brady, I went, okay.
Yeah.
Boy, was I wrong. The San Francisco 49ers put a shellacking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by the final score of 35-7. Brock Purdy, 16 of 21 for 185 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Tom Brady, 34 of 55 for 253 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Rashad White was the leading rusher for Tampa Bay with 13 carries, 56 yards, no touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey led for San Francisco, 14 carries, 119 yards with only 1 touchdown. Brandon Ayuk led San Francisco in receiving, 2 catches, 57 yards, 1 touchdown. And then Chris Godwin led Tampa Bay with 5 catches, 54 yards, and 0 touchdowns. And of course, T's and P's to Deebo Samuel, who left the game with an injury that he's probably done for the year with.
Yeah, that definitely looked very, very bad. So our thoughts and prayers with him on that one. This game, man, is Brock Purdy for real?
I mean, I think it's a case of he's, I got to look and see if he's actually a rookie or it's, he just hasn't made a start in the NFL. I think it's a case like we see in a lot of sports, NBA, Major League Baseball, hell, even hockey. That he's a rookie. He was drafted this year. So I think it's a case of you get this guy in their sport, not a lot of film on the guy. Hell, we saw this with Bailey Zappi earlier in the year with the Patriots. Not a lot of tape on the guy outside of college. And well, obviously the college game, what they did in college isn't exactly going to translate to how they play in the NFL. So I think it's just a case of there's not a lot of tape on the guy. They're kind of just going off of what they know the team can do. But until you see the skill set on the field, looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Eventually, this balloon, if you will, is going to come back down to earth. But is it enough to get them into the playoffs? Maybe. They certainly have a fantastic team, with a fantastic offense. Now, that fantastic offense is hinged on Deebo Samuel being there. So if Deebo Samuel somehow miraculously makes a comeback, which I don't think he will, if Deebo Samuel's there, they can make a decent run in the playoffs. Without Deebo Samuel, that's going to be tough because the defense can only get you so far.
Yeah, that's going to be the question about how much Purdy can really propel this offense. We know Jimmy G was trying to come back. I haven't heard anything more about.
I think it's still a case of he might, and that's like all capitals, italicized, might come back.
But the one thing that San Francisco has to be extremely happy with is Purdy is actually managing games. And the fact that he won in this fashion, if you're a 49ers fan, you have to be ecstatic. Not saying that you're going to count your chip for the Super Bowl just yet, but you're going to get in there and actually compete.
So looking on the injury report for the San Francisco 49ers, according to David Lombardi of The Athletic, quote, San Francisco head coach Kyle Shanahan said Tuesday that he expects Deebo Samuel, knee/ankle, to return to game action in 3-ish weeks.
Well, then if he can get in the playoffs, that's the time they need him.
I'll say so 3-ish would put them at the final week of the season, and I'm willing to bet they'll probably if it's a case of like win and they're in, he might play, but if they got a playoff spot secured, sit him for the first round of the playoffs.
I think they sit him no matter what. I don't think they're going to take any chances with him because if they can keep this offensive force healthy, they're going to, and Deebo is so crucial to making that offense run.
This defense is scary too.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Like, that's the one thing that we don't ever talk about.
Well, I think it's because we're East Coast. And admittedly, unless it's San Francisco playing one of the marquee, like, big name teams that, like, draws a big viewership crowd, we really don't see the 49ers games here on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Like, if it's, San Francisco versus Arizona, unless it's on, like, a Thursday night game or it happens to be on the Sunday night game, odds are if it's one of the 4:30 games, we're probably not going to see it.
Right, but if you think about it, start going through the defensive names other than Nick Bosa.
Right.
I mean, who really jumps out at you? And this isn't a slight against them. I want to stress this because somebody thought I was talking down about them. No, this is perfect because they are flying under the radar of teams that are get all the spotlight on, and sometimes people tend to go over the top because they want to get the highlights.
I mean, the only name I recognize, and that's because he asked Brady for an autograph on a football after the game, is Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah,
which fucking half a game. 15 total tackles, 10 of them solo tackles, and he had one pass defended.
Yeah.
Fucking Christ, that man was everywhere.
Exactly. He had an interception too.
Yeah.
That was the game winner, I believe. Well, I should say game winner because they were up 35.
It cinched it. It cinched it for him.
It basically cinched them. I mean, that was the whole thing. When you play this lights out, and like I say, they're flying under the radar, and that's what I think really excels with this team.
Yeah.
That you don't have anybody that's really trying to go above and beyond to get on the highlight reel.
Sure.
They're playing so solid, and they are just a physical team, too.
They're like you said, they're flying under the radar because, I mean, looking at the standings, they're in the number 3 spot in the NFC for the playoffs because they're the division leader out there. But you've got Philly in that conference who's 12-1.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. You've got the Minnesota Vikings who everyone's focusing on because everyone's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with them from the perspective of
the luckiest team in the NFL.
Exactly, just from the differential and just how they're winning games. Everyone's trying to figure that shit out. You've got everyone trying to figure out what the hell's going on with Tampa Bay and Brady. You've got Dallas and everyone focusing on Dallas because the NFC least is now pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
And then just with the Giants and everything else. So it's like there's 5-6 different storylines going on in the NFC where the 49ers, honestly, if things play out that way, I'm not saying they could get to the Super Bowl. If things fall their way, they could, screw around and find out.
I think if it comes down to them in Philly, that could be a scary, scary NFC Championship game.
Well, I mean, because we're looking at the playoffs, so Philly gets the bye. So Minnesota would play, I want to say, what it would be, the Giants, I think. And so then the Niners would play the Commanders, which, yeah, I'm taking Brock Purdy or Jimmy G. I'm taking the Niners in that game.
Yeah, I don't care who's quarterbacking. I take the 49ers in that one.
I'm taking the Niners. So in this hypothetical playoff scenario, they're making it out of at least the first round.
Oh, easily. I think if this team gets rolling, they're going to be very, very hard to beat. And Christian McCaffrey has done a lot to really solidify this team. Debo is the one that makes it go, though. So that's the smart play, is to let him sit. But depending on how the 49ers schedule plays out, I would be more or less focused on getting my teams just to the finish line because I think they've got the NFC West pretty much locked up. I mean, I know that they're up by 2 games on Seattle.
Let's say I was in the playoff standings. Let me flip over the normal standings. Let's see. So you've got the Niners currently at 9-4, Seahawks at 7-6, the Cardinals at 4-9, and then the Rams at 4-9. So I would say, barring some sort of historic collapse on the part of the Niners and a meteoric rise on the part of the Seahawks, I think the Niners have got it locked up, but the only possible way I see the Niners not winning this is if they somehow lose out and the Seattle has to win out.
Yeah.
Which don't see happening, but hey, weirder shit's happened.
This is true, but this is something the 49ers team is so balanced. Like, it's hard to bet against them, to be honest with you. It really is, and I thought Tom Brady coming out there was going to definitely do something. The only thing he did was make me say, this should be it.
And yet the reports, and I'm not saying this to contradict you, just a counterpoint, and yet the reports say that despite he will be a free agent after this season, reports are he wants to play in 2023.
He might want to, but at the same time, you're seeing the diminishing of his skills.
And to the reports saying he might end up back in New England, pump the brakes, folks.
It's a nice narrative to sign out.
It'd be cool. Don't get me wrong. I would fucking love for Mac as okay as he's been this year. Let's be honest, it's not as good as his rookie year. He's been okay. For as okay as Mac has been, fuck, I would love for him to sit behind Brady for a year and just sponge the shit out of him. Hell, move into his house, live with him for that season. But I just don't see it happening. I mean, Tampa, yes, Tom is an issue just because he looks all right. Hey, 253 and 1 touchdown, not bad. But you look at the last couple of games and it's just not been the same.
No, he's on the decline. And I'm not meaning this.
Well, and he's got a couple of his key pieces not performing as well. I mean, you got Leonard Fournette, who's only got 3 touchdowns on the year, and then he's only got 524 yards rushing. Not ideal for, I think, what a lot of folks consider the number 1 running back. And then you look at Mike Evans, who's supposed to be one of his top receivers, only has 805 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns.
Well, he also was out a couple games for...
right, but I think at this point, even with the injuries, people figured he'd be at least close to double digits by now.
But that's the one problem with Tampa Bay's offense. People have kind of figured him out. And Brady is not exactly the Brady of old to switch it up at this stage.
No, I mean, let's be honest. The Brady offense was figured out 15 years ago by the New York Giants in the Super Bowl. Once that got figured out, it's just a matter of you got to have the pieces to do it. And it also helps that Tom is getting older and he can't throw the ball as deep, and it's not, all the other things. I just think it's also the case of you got some of the other guys. I mean, Christ, look at Godwin, 702 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns on the year.
Yeah.
Those are supposed to be 2 of his top guys. They've got to combine 5 touchdowns. I know defenses that got more touchdowns than those guys combined.
Well, that's the whole thing, that this is just not the Tampa Bay of old. And I shouldn't say of old because Brady's only been there a couple years.
A couple of years, yeah.
But this is where Brady is really showing his age. And
Yeah.
this might be tough for a lot of fans to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But he is starting to look on that decline like Peyton Manning did in his final year.
Peyton did, Brett Favre too, yeah.
Everybody does it. You don't beat Father Time, no matter how hard you try. Brady's been lucky, but luck is running out. And I think for this team, if you look at their standings, they're 6-7 in that awful NFC South.
That fucking NFC South is just hot fucking garbage.
Yeah.
You've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, let's face it, folks, as bad as the division is, somebody has to be in first place in that division. And that happens to be Tampa Bay right now, who is 6-7 with a 6-7 with a 462 win percentage. You've got the Carolina Panthers, who are 5-8 with a 385 win percentage. The Atlanta Falcons were 5-8 with a 385 win percentage, and the New Orleans Saints, who are 4-9 with a 308 win percentage.
So literally, Carolina and Atlanta, for as bad as they are still in contention and could possibly win this division.
Yeah, there's a chance.
Let that sink in for a moment. And then you literally try telling me that Brady still got it. I'm sorry. He is definitely on that decline. He might want to play next season. I could see him signing one day and retiring with the Patriots.
Well, let's not forget that this is a year removed from going 13-4 the year prior, where the second place team was the New Orleans Saints, who wasn't that? No, that wasn't Breeze's final year. Was 9-8.
Yeah, that's the whole point. When you have this big of a drop off, this is pause for concern, especially when your quarterback is in his mid-40s. It's not going to get any better with him at the helm. I'm sorry. You're not getting the Tom Brady that is the legend of New England.
No.
You had a Super Bowl with him. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Nothing to be ashamed about. That is what the job was, bringing him in. It paid off.
I mean, the numbers are certainly down. You look at his last year in Tampa Bay, he had, where are the touchdowns? There they are. 43 touchdowns and 5,316 yards passing. The year prior, which was his first year in Tampa Bay, that'd be 2020, he had 40 touchdowns and 4,633 yards. You even look at his last year in New England, which, let's face it, that receiving core was not good.
Yeah.
He had 24 touchdowns and 4,057 yards. And so for this year, up through where we currently record after week, what are we in, 14? This is week 14. Brady has got 17 touchdowns and then 3,585 yards passing, which is, listen, he'll probably get to 4,000. But he ain't going to get anywhere near some of those numbers from the last couple years in Tampa Bay.
Absolutely not. It's not going down. No matter how you want to try spinning it, it's not going to happen. And if they have to run into the 49ers again in the playoffs, it's going to go the same way.
Yeah.
Mark my words. But what else can you really say about the 49ers? They're playing with that kind of Cinderella feel to them a little bit. And they definitely have some interesting games to close out with.
Yeah, so the 49ers have the Seattle Seahawks this upcoming Thursday. That game is in Seattle.
That's going to be a good game.
Oh, yeah, it will be. And then they've got the Washington Commanders on Christmas Eve. Then they've got the Las Vegas Raiders. That is in Vegas. And then they've got the Arizona Cardinals to close out the year. That game also to be determined on time.
Well, I don't think they're going to get flexed because of what happened with Arizona.
Well, I don't think you can really flex them. It's just a matter they got to figure out where they're going to put them.
Yeah, that's...
I think the games that they might sprinkle some of the meaningful games, early, but a lot of them will probably just get put early on the early slate.
And I think that this one will be an early 4:00 game.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm not looking at anything special about it.
Yeah.
But I am looking at the special team, and that's the 49ers, who had an impressive win.
Yeah, and then you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have the Cincinnati Bengals this upcoming Sunday. Then they've got the Arizona Cardinals. That is on Christmas Day, or should I say Christmas night. That's the Sunday night game at 8 on NBC. Then they've got the Carolina Panthers on New Year's Day. And then they have the Atlanta Falcons to close out the regular season.
So they might sneak in the playoffs, but don't expect Brady to have a deep run.
I mean, they'll make the playoffs just because, listen, you look at, you got the Carolina Panthers who, I'll be honest, ever since they let go of Baker Mayfield, I couldn't tell you who their starting quarterback is. I don't see Atlanta making a run there because they just benched Marcus Mariota for their rookie there. I forget the guy's name. So I don't see either of them making a run. So, I mean, so by default, Tampa Bay is going to make it. But also, you still look at the playoff standings. They're still, because they're one of the division leaders, and just because of the way the standings work, they would be facing Dallas in the first round.
Yeah, which,
yikes,
depending on how Dallas shows up, you never know how that game might go, to be honest with you. I mean, that's the kind of trick of all tricks. But there are more games to discuss, though, Pat. Yeah,
so then we got to talk about a game you and I both had as one of our locks, and that would be the Kansas City Chiefs to defeat the Denver Broncos, which... yeah, they did. By the final score of 34-28. Patrick Mahomes, 28 of 42 for 352 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And then Russell Wilson.
Let's ride.
Let's ride to a concussion. 23 of 36 for 247 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Also, Russell Wilson led Denver in rushing with 4 carries, 57 yards, no touchdowns. Isaiah Pacheco led Kansas City in rushing, 13 carries, 70 yards, no touchdowns. Jerick McKinnon led Kansas City in receiving, 7 catches, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Jerry Jeudy led Denver with receiving 8 catches, 73 yards, 3 touchdowns. And also T's and P's to Russell Wilson because holy fuck, the shot he took.
Yeah.
And the photo I saw maybe about an hour or so after it happened, and the goose egg sized lump he had on his forehead after he took the helmet off after that hit. Yikes.
One thing to know about this rivalry is it is not for the squeamish.
No, it's not.
These two teams have had a very, very noteworthy history.
I wouldn't say they necessarily hate each other, but they're certainly not going to pull any punches.
No, this is definitely, I would say, the second big rivals between both.
Sure.
I mean, maybe you have to think, because I always think the Raiders have a bigger precedence against both teams.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, this was a hard-hitting game. A real test for Patrick Mahomes. 3 interceptions is something I would say not his best performance, to put mildly.
Right.
But Denver got up for this game. No matter how bad they are, it's still division. So you always have to kind of factor that in. Russell Wilson definitely did all he could do to win this game until he got hurt. And then they just kind of fell apart a little bit because Kansas City does what Kansas City does best.
Yeah. They scored, although admittedly you had Patrick Mahomes had, 2 interceptions and a half for the first time in his career, which is wild.
Yeah, he definitely got pressured, and I don't think he was ready for what Denver was throwing at him.
No.
Which,
hey, if Denver's got a bright spot, in this garbage season they've had, the defense ain't bad.
The defense has been substantial.
Yeah.
Not
serviceable.
Great, serviceable, but it hasn't been anything to write home about. But they did step up for this game, so at least it made the game entertaining. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, Kansas City got a win over a lesser team, which no matter if it's division or not, they're still a lesser team, and Kansas City found a way to win. Now, in comparison to how Dallas played,
right?
Dallas took them too lightly. Kansas City never did.
No.
Because, dropping 21 on them in the second quarter, they definitely were applying a lot of pressure.
Oh, yeah.
Is just that second half, Denver made enough adjustments to really give Patrick Mahomes fits.
Well, that's any given Sunday.
Right. And they almost blew this game, too.
Yeah.
We have to remember that.
Yeah.
Denver was in this until what happened with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, which, hey, again, T's and P's. And I looked, he is currently in, almost a COVID protocol. He is in concussion protocol. Although, let's be honest, Denver, you're eliminated from the playoffs. And you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players on the injury report today as we record, one of them being on injured reserve. That's your running back, Mike Boone. The other 6 are all questionable. Just shut him down for the year.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you going to gain by having him try to come back for the final 4 games when you're out of it?
Yeah, there's no point.
He's got his money. You're not going to be, you're not worried about him going somewhere in the offseason as a free agent. You know what you got. Let him rehab. Let him get a head start on rehab. Whatever issues he's got going on, if he's got any sort of injuries or something nagging him, let him get an early start on it and come back, next season fully healthy. And then just look at what else you got with the team. You're eliminated. There's no point in rushing him back.
No, there's absolutely no point. So Denver should just be looking at the offseason. Kansas City, though, definitely had to have this win because obviously they want to try getting the first seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
For the AFC. And
Although it'll be a little tough. They need some stumbling from Buffalo because Buffalo currently has the number 1 seed in the AFC, and that despite the identical records, it's because of head-to-head matchup.
Yeah, so it's going to be playoff football from here on out for both teams, Buffalo and Kansas City. But looking at Kansas City's schedule, if they really want to get that home field advantage, which I feel they need to win, I'm not saying this because I'm a Bills fan.
No, I agree.
But I think Kansas City struggles when they got to travel.
Have they had a playoff game outside? And I'm not talking Super Bowl. Have they had a playoff game outside of their home stadium in Patrick Mahomes' career? Maybe one.
Maybe one.
It's a small number, but they do not have an easy schedule. That is for sure. So this upcoming Sunday, they're playing the Texans down in Houston. Then they've got a home game against the Seattle Seahawks on Christmas Eve. They've got a home game against the Denver Broncos on New Year's Day. And then the final game of the year is against the Las Vegas Raiders in Vegas. Woof.
Well, 2 of those games definitely stand out, Seattle and Vegas.
Uh-huh.
Denver without Russell Wilson, I don't know. I mean, I do expect them to give him a challenge, but I don't expect a lot from that game.
Yeah.
And then obviously Houston is Houston.
And then for Denver, just because I'll be fair, good God almighty. Have fun with this last 4 games, folks. Listen to this one. So this upcoming Sunday, they've got the Arizona Cardinals. And after that, they've got a road game playing the Rams. That is on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas. You get to go to the Rams. And then after that, on New Year's Day, they play the Kansas City Chiefs. And then they've got a home game against the Los Angeles Chargers to close out the regular season.
And the Chargers game could always be 50-50. That could always be 50-50.
Oh, gee, that's a rough stretch.
It's a rough stretch, especially for a team that is not good.
No, it's not.
No, so Kansas City, though, they got the work cut out for them. Denver, thanks for showing up. Just get to the end of the season already.
Broncos country. Get well soon.
Let's ride.
And then we got to talk about one of your leaps, which was the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat the Baltimore Ravens, which they did not, which Baltimore won by the final score of 16-14. Tyler Huntley, 8 of 12 for 88 yards passing. Wait, seriously? Wow.
Yeah.
0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Anthony Brown, whoever the hell that guy is, also got into the game. 3 of 5 for 16 yards passing, no touchdowns or interceptions. 2 quarterbacks from Baltimore, even not named Lamar Jackson, under 100 yards passing. Wow. And then you had Maserati Mitchell Trubisky, 22 of 30 for 276 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Najee Harris led Pittsburgh for rushing, 12 carries, 33 yards, 1 touchdown. J.K. Dobbins, making his return for the Baltimore Ravens, led with 15 carries, 120 yards, 1 touchdown. God damn. You had Demarcus Robinson lead Baltimore for receiving 5 catches, 52 yards, no touchdowns. And then Deontay Johnson led for Pittsburgh in receiving 6 catches, 82 yards, no touchdowns.
And the one thing we have to note, Kenny Pickett was pulled from this game into concussion protocol.
Super fucking early, apparently, because he only had 1 attempt.
Yeah, it was early in the first quarter, and he tried coming back out, and then they pulled him out again.
And reading off the injury report for the Pittsburgh Steelers on ESPN.com, this is according to Teresa Varley of the Steelers official website. Quote, head coach Mike Tomlin said Tuesday that Pickett remains in the concussion protocol and added that the quarterback's participation in practice this week will be critical in guiding a decision for his status for the Sunday's game at Carolina.
Well, I would not rush him back.
No.
I mean, let's face it, Pittsburgh season, you would need a lot of luck to make a run.
Currently last place in the AFC North.
Yeah, so like I say, you would need a lot of chips to fall in your favor.
Yeah, and currently, they're 2 spots away from being eliminated because you've got the Texans and Broncos beneath them who have all been eliminated. Then they've got the Colts who are not eliminated, and then the Steelers.
Yeah, so I don't see any point in rushing back
No.
your future, because Pickett is going to be your future.
If he's the guy.
If he is the guy, which, I mean, he was on a good progression until this injury.
Yeah.
So I would stay wait and see. I wouldn't rush anything back, and you're unfortunately going to have to take an L for the season. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
The team was in a rebuilding phase to begin with, so the fact that you were contending with teams is a big takeaway.
Is this going to be Tomlin's first losing season? Because I know he had that run for a while where he had never had a losing season.
I believe so.
It might, if it's not his first, it might be his second.
Yeah, that's the one thing with the Steelers. They don't panic. The one I will give credit to that franchise. The culture they have down there is they don't collapse everything and think the sky is falling if you have one bad season. If it starts progressing more, then they will make a swift decision.
Sure.
But I think for this season, they understand what happened, and obviously with this game, the fact the Steelers were still in this after losing Pickett is very telling. The only thing I would say is you can really tell that Pittsburgh is not the Pittsburgh of old. This is a Baltimore team led by Tyler Huntley, not Lamar Jackson. And the fact that they jumped out to you early, 13-7 at half.
Yep.
It is what it is. I mean, that's the thing with Steelers football right now.
Tyler Huntley in his third season out of Utah.
Yes. So we obviously know that he is the backup. He is just trying to hold on until Lamar Jackson can come back from that knee injury.
Right.
This is a situation that Pittsburgh could have snuck one out there, but they didn't. And it's nothing against Trubisky. Is just not clicking down in Pittsburgh. I'm sorry. It's not happening. And I feel bad because
Needs that Buffalo cold weather.
he needs it. He needs to be the backup.
Needs those wings
Exactly.
and the tables.
Let's ride. Sorry, wrong team, but that's the kind of the knee-jerk reaction because I would love to see Trubisky back as the number 2 in Buffalo. Because when he comes in, he closes games. It's a proven fact. But in this situation, he couldn't come out and close. And Baltimore, listen, kudos to them for winning a gritty game. You know, when we talk about division games too, Pittsburgh and Baltimore will forever be the rivalry in the AFC North. No matter how bad these teams are, they will definitely show out, and they did. And this was a fun game to watch, albeit, though, it was not with the star players.
Right.
So we got what we got out of it. Baltimore sneaks away with a much-needed win. And then we kind of go from there with the schedules because there really isn't a lot to write home about with this one.
No. So looking at the schedule for the Baltimore Ravens, they've got the Cleveland Browns this upcoming Saturday. And then they've got the Atlanta Falcons on Christmas Eve. Then they've got the Pittsburgh Steelers on New Year's Day. And then they've got the Cincinnati Bengals on the road to close out the regular season. And then for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have got the Carolina Panthers this upcoming Sunday. Then they've got the Las Vegas Raiders on Christmas Eve, the Baltimore Ravens on New Year's Day, and then the Cleveland Browns to close out the regular season.
So it's going to be an interesting time to see how this all plays out for Baltimore. Pittsburgh just got to make it through the end of the season.
Yep.
All right, that being said, Pat, let's take a lap around the league and close this out.
Yeah, so for the Thursday game, you had the Los Angeles Rams make a stunning comeback win behind the newly signed Baker Mayfield and beat the Las Vegas Raiders 17-16.
Bad game for the Raiders. Collapsed late in that fourth quarter, if memory serves me right.
Something like that, yeah.
But for Baker Mayfield, the redemption story for 1 week, which, listen, it's a feel-good story. I'm not going to take anything away from that. But obviously, the Raiders have not been playing up to their potential this season. It is what it is. And moving forward, Baker is not going to be the guy, but if he can get him to 500, I guess that's the plan for the rest of the season.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be the guy for the rest of the season. I don't think they'll bring back Stafford. And there's been some rumblings that Stafford may or may not come back next year, so this could be a tryout period for Baker, because his deal is up at the end of the year. So this is essentially your tryout, Baker, so good luck. Yeah,
definitely make the most of the opportunity. And if you're going to be the face of the LA Rams, I mean, maybe the change of scenery will help him. Yeah. I don't know. But
warm California air.
But I'm going to say this. I'm not ready to crown him the franchise and, Baker's back. No, this was a win against a bad team, especially late in that fourth quarter. They, like I said, they were up. I want to say it was 5 minutes left in that game.
Something like that.
It was something crazy like that, but that's just when I'm watching the highlights. I'm like, wow, how is this happening?
Right.
But then again, the Raiders season has been a little subpar.
Yeah, to say the least. You had the Buffalo Bills beat the New York Jets by the final score of 20-12.
Okay. I want to address something.
Uh-oh.
For all the sports media that was sitting and questioning the Bills' offense, and especially the one reporter who said something post-game to Josh about this team is not a Super Bowl offensive ready, or they're not ready for the Super Bowl with this offense. And I love Josh's answer. Okay. And that was it. I love it because...
File that one away?
Exactly. The situation here, and we have said this, and I think I've said this multiple times, the Jets' defense is going to give any team they face in the playoff fits. Did I or did I not call it the first time they came and played Buffalo?
You did.
The Jets were going to win.
You said there was a chance.
There was a chance because that defense is nasty.
Yeah, you did.
And that defense held Buffalo in check again. But kudos to the Bills for finding a way to win. See, I'm trying not to get too wound up because for everybody that was writing them off for dead because they only put up 20 points against a Jets team that is in the playoffs as it stands right now, I thought was very, very insulting.
I mean, that whole game up until halftime was fucking garbage.
It was a snooze fest.
It was garbage because the Bills didn't score until what, like
late in the second.
Late in the second, 30 seconds left before halftime or something. You know, so there was a chance this game was going to go to halftime scoreless, and then they figured shit out, and people started scoring in the second half.
Well, right, because the teams were very evenly matched on the defensive side of the ball. And especially for the Jets, you really don't know what you have with Mike White yet. Like, you have an idea.
You got a fractured rib at the least.
But I will give him credit. Came back out there and tried winning at all costs.
God damn.
And if you're the Jets, that's the guy you rally on.
Well, I saw the hit he took early in the game.
Yeah, from Milano?
From Milano, where it was the shot to the chin, and he left. I'm like, oh, there's no fucking way he's coming back.
Right.
And then later in the day, I was reading a thing about how he came back twice. I was like, what the fuck is this guy made of?
Yeah, no, this guy wants to win for this team. And if you're a Jets fan, this is the guy you rally on. Like, does he have the potential to be good?
Maybe.
Yes. I'm fully sold. He does have the potential. You need to get him more weapons. And I will say that Bam Knight and, when they get Breece Hall back, that's going to be a nasty 1-2 punch at the running back position. Wide receiver, I would definitely go find somebody in this offseason.
Yeah.
I know Corey Davis was injured, and he really had a shutdown game was a factor this game.
Oh, yeah.
But if they can get some more weapons around him, they could make a real difference. I'm not saying they're going to take the division, but they'll be a factor, and I guarantee you this. The Jets will be a problem for anybody they face in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's Buffalo. Doesn't matter if it's Kansas City. That defense is very, very nasty.
Right.
And they're not afraid to punch a team in the mouth. And they definitely gave the Bills all they could handle. This was not a pretty game by any stretch of the imagination, like Pat alluded to. The first half was a snooze fest because the Bills couldn't figure anything out. And Josh looked a little lost. However, though, he did find a way to win. The second half was much improved, and they definitely capitalized on those improvements. So for anybody to sit there and say, oh, Buffalo's not ready for the playoffs, they're 10-3. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC. Relax. They'll be fine. And I hope that that press clip is saved somewhere, because when the Bills make a run in the playoffs, and if they do get to the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl, I hope they bring this up and use it as bulletin board material.
Oh, I fear for the team they're playing this upcoming Sunday, which I'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, Saturday, my friend.
Oh, yeah. No, I fear for that team because they might get 40 or 50 dropped on them, weather permitting.
Mm-hmm. Next up, though.
You had the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Cleveland Browns 23-10.
Not really surprised at this one. I mean, Cleveland and Cincinnati have always had a good division rivalry. Yeah. But this one, Deshaun Watson, not impressed with the performance?
No, 276, 1 touchdown. So, hey, at least better than last week. But
improving, but but Cincinnati is clicking right now at the right time.
Jamar Chase, 10 catches, 119, 1 touchdown. Yo.
Exactly. So they're getting good at the right time. I know that we said the Super Bowl hangover was in full effect. I'm glad it's wore off for them.
Yeah, I will say, son tells me they drank a little orange juice and they're feeling better.
Yeah, they're definitely much improved, and they're going to be a scary team in those playoffs.
You had the Detroit Lions beat the Minnesota Vikings 34-23.
Detroit has a chance to make the playoffs.
Detroit is currently, I think, they're on the outside looking in because the Giants are the 7th seed. Seattle is behind them, and then you've got the Lions.
Yes. So if they play their cards right, they could sneak in.
And their last 4 games, they've got the Jets, Panthers, Bears, and Packers. So they could win at least 3 of those.
They could win 3. This week against the Jets is going to be a tougher challenge, but it's going to be a great offense against a great defense. That's literally what's coming down to. Man, who would have ever thought Detroit would be this important this late?
Not me.
I'm telling you what, it's going to be a kudo to them if they can sneak in there. I'd love to see it because I really like what Dan Campbell has done with this team. Just their defense just can't close. That's been their only hiccup this season. It's a shame, too.
Yeah. Then you had the Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Tennessee Titans 36-22.
Oh, my God. Jacksonville might make the playoffs.
There is a chance.
There is a chance.
There is a chance. They are, well, that's a long shot because you've got the Patriots in the 7th seed, then you've got the Chargers, Jets, and then the Jaguars. So they need a lot of help.
They need a lot of help unless they take that division. That's the only thing they could do, which I mean, if luck plays on the other side. And we also have to make note, Christian Kirk, 5 catches, 45 yards.
You had the Philadelphia Eagles put a whooping on the New York Football Giants by the final score of 48-22.
Giants fans.
How are you feeling?
Oh, my God. I think the dream is over. Cinderella's left the party.
Looks like the clock has hit midnight.
Yeah, this team is not ready for prime time.
The carriage is a pumpkin.
Absolutely abysmal performance. That defense did not look good at all, and Philly looked like the number 1 seed. We talk about elite teams defeating lesser teams. This really made the Giants look like a 5-7 team instead of a 7-5 team.
Yeah.
Or 7-4 team. Like, legitimately, this was bad. And if the Giants think they're going to make a run in the playoffs, I don't know. After this performance, I don't see how you can have any confidence. I really don't.
You had the Carolina Panthers beat the Seattle Seahawks 30-24.
Did not see this one going this route.
Neither did I.
So, good win for Carolina, though, I will say. Seattle definitely needed this win, so I think that hurts them a lot more than they realize.
Yep.
But we'll have to wait and see how this all shakes up.
You had the Los Angeles Chargers beat the Miami Dolphins 23-17.
The one time I need the Chargers to come through, they do. So I was happy to see this as a Bills fan. For the Chargers, though, they definitely had their hands full.
Yeah.
Miami gave them all they could. Tyreek Hill, though, playing hurt. And I don't know if this is going to be a lingering injury moving forward, but he definitely did something to his shin. He could not run as fast for a long stretch of time.
Sure.
Albeit, though, when he needed to, he definitely did, especially that fumble recovery. He ran for 50-some-odd yards. He looked great there, but he definitely hurt his legs somewhere.
So according to the injury report for the Miami Dolphins, he is, as we record, listed as questionable, and it says Hill, ankle, was listed as a limited participant on Tuesday's estimated practice report. Daniel OEFC of the Miami Herald reports.
Yeah, so if he's not 100% ready to go, it's going to be a long day for the Dolphins in Buffalo, because especially it's going to be a lot of snow, and I'm here for this. I know there's one person that is not going to be here for this, but we'll still talk to him about football because I had this game circled on the calendar since the abysmal performance in Miami.
Well, and also, hey, Dolphins, hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
How big a bunch of fucking pansies are you? There was a story that came out from the folks at Syracuse.com, which it's a newspaper website up in Syracuse, New York. How the Miami, now the weather in Los Angeles on Sunday for this game, where mind you it's in a dome, was 55 degrees, which you and I this time of year, spoiler alert folks, I'm looking at my watch, currently as we record it's 23 degrees where we record. It's fucking 55 degrees. I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt this time of year. Miami Dolphins, they were using propane heaters. In Los Angeles, in 55-degree weather, they were using propane heaters on the sidelines.
Oh, man.
Folks, I'm going to pull up the schedule for this upcoming Sunday slate of games on Sunday just to get the latest weather report information for the wonderful city that is Buffalo, New York. Where the heck are they? It's on the Saturday. So there they are. Saturday slate of games, 8:15. This is according to AccuWeather.com. Snow is in the forecast for the folks up in Buffalo, and game time weather, 32 degrees. So y'all motherfuckers were using propane heaters in an indoor facility in 55-degree weather, and y'all are about to be outdoor with snow on the ground, because I'm willing to bet they still got a decent amount of snow from that snowstorm a couple weeks ago. And it's going to be fucking 30 degrees.
Yeah.
You're going to freeze.
I'm here for this. I'm so here for this. I know I'm going to be talking with not only one in particular Dolphins fan, but I'm going to be talking with a few. And, we'll see how this all plays out. But the colder, the better. Bring it on for Saturday night. I can't wait.
And then one last game, we got to talk about the Monday night game, which was the New England Patriots, who beat the Arizona Cardinals by the final score of 27-13.
Well, we do have to give a shout-out to Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, we do, because there was a moment during the game where Patriots wide receiver Devontae Parker made a catch, got tackled, went to the ground pretty hard, and then came up very visibly dazed and didn't quite know where the hell he was, couldn't get set. Now, there are supposed to be individuals in the stadium keeping an eye for this sort of thing for the NFL and telling them the refs when to stop the game because, hey, check that guy. He might have a concussion. They missed this one. Nelson Aguilar, another one of the Patriots wide receivers, realized what was going on, got the ref's attention on the field, and they stopped the game and pulled Devontae Parker from the game, which it turned out he did have a concussion. So the NFL is going to be looking into the handling of this because the spotters they have for this, which, have been given extra scrutiny since the Tua situation earlier this year, dropped the ball on this one.
Yeah, this is definitely very scary. So kudos to Aguilar for catching that.
Yeah.
Because that is no joke.
No.
And I'm so glad he caught him in time. So definitely kudos to that.
Yeah.
That game was, though, like you say, it was very, very cursed.
Very cursed because, what was it? Then you had Kyler Murray on the third play from scrimmage go down, and it is a ACL tear, so he's out for the rest of this year, and the Lord knows how much into next year. So you had Colt McCoy step in. Colt McCoy did serviceable, 246, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Just that offensive line was getting eaten alive all night by the Patriots defense. 6 sacks on Colt McCoy from the Patriots defense. Good Lord.
Yeah.
And also, holy fuck, the number of penalties and stupid penalties that Arizona was getting during the game. They had 8 penalties for, and this, mind you, this is accepted penalties for 48 yards. And a lot of them weren't like, oh, false start, oh, pass interference, oh, holding. No, it was like illegal. There was at least 2 or 3, maybe even 4 illegal shifts.
Yeah.
Where wide receivers or somebody else would not be set before the play it was just, they were like, Troy Aikman during the game was even going, this is a dumb penalty. Like, you're professionals. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, there was a lot of really questionable stuff going on there. So, you got to take a real fine look at how everything was shaping up there because it was just messy. Like, that's the easiest way to describe it. It was just messy.
Yeah. And then Matthew Judon, second half. And then where was the other one? It was Josh Uche had at least 1, maybe 2 sacks himself, which, goddamn. Or no, he had 3 sacks on the night. That's right. Josh Uche had 3 sacks for the Patriots. So it was a good, fun game to watch.
Definitely a fun game to watch, and definitely a lot of headlines coming out of this week's NFL action. So definitely hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod. What is your thoughts about the week that was week 14 of the NFL? Let's have that discussion, shall we? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Do not adjust your dial. Or, your phone, your watch, or whatever the heck you're using to listen to the awesome podcast you're currently listening to. I am the Duke of Nerds, Tyler Mack, and I am here to tell you that being a nerd can be a bit overwhelming, especially after 30. Life moves pretty fast in our nerd culture, and if you don't take the time to notice things, you miss out. That's why I'm here. As your Duke of Nerds, I am charged with educating, enlightening, and entertaining you on all things nerdy. I do it by running the 30 to Nerdy podcast. 30 to Nerdy is a Badcast company production and currently playing wherever you cast your pod. Follow along each episode using the hashtag 30andnerdypod and check out what all is going on at 30andnerdypodcast.com. Whether it's DC, Marvel, comics, or video games, I have got you covered. So tune in now. Cheers to you, nerds.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we have to recap one of the more interesting nights of UFC action in recent memory, and I don't think for all the right reasons.
For a multitude of reasons.
Yeah, so let's talk about this, Pat. What went down?
So this was UFC 282 taking place this past Saturday from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, where there was a reported attendance of 18,455,000, a gate of reportedly $4.4 million. Eat it, AEW.
Get them.
You had talk about a couple of the fights. One of which main evented the preliminary card on ESPN2/ESPN Plus, and that was against Raul Rosas Jr. and Jay Perrin, where you had Raul Rosas Jr. Defeat Jay Perrin via face crank submission. Now, noteworthy about this fight, this was Rosas Jr.'s first fight in, I guess you could call the main event, the main level of UFC. Yep. He did have a previous fight with the UFC on the Contender Series. That was back in September, where he won by unanimous decision. Then he had this main debut, I guess you could say. Of note, I saw a little thing, can't dig it up and find it. He's at least the youngest, if not tied for the youngest win in UFC history because, folks, he just turned 18 a couple months ago. His birthday's on October 8th. He was born in the year 2004, which makes me feel fucking old.
Yeah, you're telling me.
So he just turned 18. He's not even 18 and a half. He's like 18 in like percentage points. So kudos to this kid. Career record now 7-0.
Made a big statement on a big spotlight profile matchup.
And goddamn, that face crank looked like it hurt.
Yeah, the fact that he got a face crank on, especially at that angle he did, because he was pressed up against the cage on Perrin's back, and then he cranked the hell out of it. It was an instant tap. Like, Perrin had nothing to defend it, and it's no shame against it, but it's just he was going down, and just Rosas just completely got the good angle on it.
And I love the one video I saw, which was a family watch party his family was having watching the fight. They were more subdued than the crowd in Vegas was, because I saw the Vegas reaction where everyone's like jumping up and down and waving the Mexican flag because he's from Mexico. You know, the family, they were cheering and they were happy, but it's like you'd expect them jumping up and down, fist bumping, yeah, and it's like they're applauding, going, yeah. I'm like, I expected, hey, kudos, your kid got a win, but I was expecting a little more excitement out of you.
Well, the thing was, they probably were expecting him to just win in dominant fashion.
Probably.
Like, I'm sure that they were probably like, they're super happy, but I think it was a little cautious too, because obviously being 18 years old and you're on the UFC, you're main eventing the prelims.
Yeah.
This is pressure on anybody, let alone an 18-year-old kid that just was on the Contender Series.
And you're not exactly behind a paywall. You're on cable television.
Yeah, which a lot of attention was put on him. A lot.
Yeah.
So the fact he stepped up in the spotlight and won in dominant fashion like this.
Yeah.
Big move for the UFC. I have no idea what they do with him next. I think we'll see him back in the cage in a few months, maybe. I would say they'll probably give him some time to really develop and really hone his skills a little more. But I'm telling you what, we talk about the next big thing. I'm not ready to crown him, but seeing how he handled himself in this spotlight, I definitely would say I feel more comfortable, pending on what he does next, to see that maybe we have a star on our hands. Maybe.
Looking at the rankings on UFC.com/rankings in the bantamweight division, because that is the weight division he fights in. Currently not ranked. They list that 1 through 15, so probably right outside the top 15. I'd say maybe one more noteworthy fight, he might crack that top 15 status. We'll see.
Yeah, I would say you can't have him crack the top 15. Like, I understand that we live in a weird day and age where if fighters are charismatic enough, they get bumped up the rankings really fast. This is a situation, let him simmer in the lower tier of the division for right now, because he could definitely rise through those ranks very quickly if he stays on task. It just depends on his age and maturity of being at this level and this profile right now. Because if you really start believing your own hype, that train can go off the tracks very, very quickly. We have seen this time and time again in the UFC especially. So I think they just got to play it smart, his camp, and just really keep him grounded and really get him ready for his next fight. And I would say I would push it to April, May. Yeah, I understand it's a long time, but I would really let this kid heal up. I mean, we don't need to have everybody be Donald Cerrone.
Yeah, this is true.
And especially at his age.
Yeah, you don't want to ruin him too early.
No, definitely not. So I definitely think he's got to get his camp, really have him focused and really learning his skills. Because when he starts getting into that deeper water of that division, he's got to be ready to go.
Yeah.
You can't exactly throw him in there and say, okay, best of luck, kid.
Also got to mention this fight was over at 2 minutes and 44 seconds of the first round. So not exactly a long, drawn-out contest.
No, especially a lot of the prelims were very quick finishes. I know Rosenstruck defeated Dukakis in, 23 seconds?
Yeah, 23 seconds. You had up until the... you had a string of early submissions, because the first fight on the pre-prelim cards, that's the ESPN Plus, the UFC Fight Pass, that first one went TKO. Then you had a submission win, TKO, to close out the early preliminary card. Then the prelims, you had knockout, submission. Then you got into the main event. So there was a string of fights where this was over quick.
Yeah, and I believe that Dana White actually gave the performance of the night to everybody who had a finish on this card.
Yeah, so looking on the Wikipedia page for UFC 282, it lists performance of the night to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 folks. So I'm willing to bet that was everybody who got a TKO or a finish.
As they should.
Yeah, no, that I've never seen that many performance of the night bonuses.
I haven't either. Wow. So I'm glad he did it, because I know the fight was definitely going in the right, or the card was going in the right trajectory. Until we got to the main card.
Right.
And then Well, I should say until we got to the main events.
Yeah.
But there still is some noteworthy headlines coming out from the start of the main card, though, Pat.
Yeah, so the first fight on the main card was in the featherweight division where you had Ilya Topuria defeat Bryce Mitchell via submission and arm triangle choke specifically at 3 minutes and 10 seconds of the second round.
Absolutely wild. I did not see this fight going this way. I thought if Bryce Mitchell got him on the ground, it was going to be a wrap. But Topuria, he looked great. He looked fantastic. Mm-hmm. And nothing against Bryce Mitchell, but it was like he understood he needed to make a big splash, and I definitely thought he did the right thing.
Right.
So now the question is, where does he go from here? I think you got to put him in around, like that. Well, let's see. Bryce Mitchell was the number 9th ranked fighter, I believe, at the time.
And still is on the UFC.com/rankings. It looks like that division's rankings haven't been updated yet because Bryce Mitchell's still listed as 9. Topuria is still listed as 14.
I wouldn't doubt that they get flipped.
Probably.
Just on how that is, or Mitchell goes down to 12. I could see that happening. But I do see Topuria cracking the top 10. I would say you'd have to give him somebody maybe...
Korean Zombies right there at 6.
I don't know if you bump him up that high, though. Like, that would be a great fight, though. I could definitely see Yusuf down in the number 11 ranking.
Yeah.
I think that would make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But it depends. I mean, this kid really just went out of his way and stole a spotlight, especially defeating Bryce Mitchell at his own game. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the one thing that was absolutely crazy to realize. Like, this is back in the day when somebody would go to the ground with Jacare. Like, you wouldn't get off the ground. You wouldn't survive.
I'll say, and looking at Mitchell's record, the reason he beat him at his own game, 9 of his 15 wins are by submission.
Yeah, which, I mean, it was a real test, but it's like, I'm telling you, man, this is going to be something to watch in that division, especially for a division that needs some star power added to it.
Yeah.
Because, well, I mean, depending on what Volkanovski does, like, you really have to really take a look and say, okay, who's going to be the next one to really generate some buzz? Max can do it, obviously, in that top tier. Brian Ortega is up there. I know Arnold Allen is somebody they're really high on. Josh Emmett is kind of in that contender status. I don't know if he's going to make that jump. I know Yair Rodriguez is there, but I'm still not sold on him, being somebody that can carry that division.
Right.
That's just me personally. But like I say, this is a great situation for somebody to make that jump, and I tell you what, Topuria can definitely make that happen.
Next up was in the middleweight division where you had Dricus du Plessis beat Darren Till via face crank submission at 2 minutes and 43 seconds of the third round.
Crazy the face crank was in high fashion.
And it's not normally seen.
No, it definitely isn't. I mean, what can you say about this? Darren Till at least looked more ready for a fight here, I guess, after being off for so long. But nothing really to write home about with this one, honestly. This it was tough loss to see because I do like Darren Till, but
right,
just not pulled off for him. But great win for Duplessis, though.
Yeah, and then in the next fight was a catchweight fight between Santiago, and I'm going to butcher this name.
Porzenbino.
Thank you. Who defeated Alex Morano via TKO at 2 minutes and 29 seconds of the third round.
Porzenbino. That's the proper name, so I apologize for that. But, yeah, no, Santiago, remember, this was the fight that they had to do the catchweight because Robbie Lawler had to pull out because of injury. So this one, no real shock here. Solid fight. Morano, I give him all the credit in the world for taking on short notice.
Yeah.
And, obviously, Santiago, good win for him.
Yeah.
Enough said.
And then we get into the co-main event of the evening. Boy, oh boy, here we go. This was in the lightweight division where you had Paddy Pimblett defeat, and I put that with an asterisk, Jared Gordon via a unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-28, and 29-28.
All right. So this fight, I don't exactly know how the judges could score this. I genuinely don't. This fight did not make a ton of sense to me on this because I'm going to read off some of the stats, the measurements of going on here.
Okay.
So total strikes, Pimblett, 97 of 194, Gordon 100 of 143. Significant strikes, Pimblett 63, Gordon 58. Headshots, Pimblett had 33, Gordon 30. Body shots, 13 for Pimblett, 14 for Gordon. 17 leg kicks for Pimblett, 14 for Gordon. Control, 0.35 seconds for Pimblett. 6 minutes and 28 for Gordon. 3 takedowns for Gordon. 0 for Pimblett. And 0 sub attempts.
I've got the scorecards pulled up in front of me. This from the UFC.com website. They do post all of the scorecards after the fight is over. So all you got to do is Google, search UFC 282 scorecards, and then look for the UFC.com link. You had the pink judge, who was Ron McCarthy, give rounds 1 and 2 to Patty Plimblett, 10-9, and then gave the third round to Jared Gordon. Then you had the blue judge, who was Chris Lee, give the first round to Jared Gordon, 10-9, and then gave rounds 2 and 3 to Patty, 10-9, so 29-28. And then you had the white judge, Doug Crosby, who we'll get to in just a minute, give the first 2 rounds to Patty Plimblett, 10-9, and then the final round to Jared Gordon, 10-9, for the final score, obviously, of 29-28. Do not agree with any of those.
No, I would have said Gordon won rounds 1 and 3. Pimblett, I thought he had a strong argument for 2, so I give him that. But the problem is Gordon didn't do the wow factor to really kind of sell it.
Sure.
But he won. I mean, he won outright. Like, I'm sorry. The fact that takedowns matter, they showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a situation that the judges got it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And we always say don't leave it in the hands of the judges, but this is one of the situations that it did, and it completely backfired. I don't understand how you can judge this. I really don't. I stand firmly in saying, in my opinion, this was Gordon's all day.
Yeah, and a lot of people do, and you're going to have the Athletic Commission look at this and look at Doug Crosby specifically because reading from an article on MMAmania.com, article says, quote, "It was a banner weekend for Doug Crosby. The long-time MMA mixed martial arts judge came under fire for not 1, but 2 scorecards over the last few days, starting with Danny Sabatello versus Rufian Stotts main event at Bellator 289 in Uncasville, and ending with the Patty Plimblett versus Jared Gordon co-headliner at UFC 282 in Las Vegas. Crosby scored Sabatello slots 50-45 in favor of Sabatello, which made history on December 9th as the first 50-45 scorecard ever recorded for a loser in the MMAdecisions.com database. Fellow judges Eric Colon and Brian Miner scored the contest 48-47 for Stotts, awarding Supa a split decision victory. The commission was not impressed. One judge had Sabatello winning all 5 rounds, which is controversial. Mohegan Athletic Department Director of Athletics Mike Mazzulli wrote via MMA Fighting. But ultimately, Stotts won the decision, which is the correct result. In an effort to make this a learning moment, I have informed all 3 judges we will be reviewing the fight together, close quote. Check out our belt, and then they have a link for their play-by-play. Also, their play-by-play also scored in favor of Stotts right here. Quote, "This is a very serious situation," he wrote. "The Mohegan Tribe Athletic Department, which always looks out for the best interest of all fighters. In the past, the Mohegan Tribe Athletic Department has sanctioned officials that are not performing to the level that is required. Such sanctions, when they occur, are not made public," close quote. Crosby then scored the Pimblett fight 29-28 in favor of the baddie the following night, despite the fact that 23 of the 24 media outlets providing UFC 282 results and play-by-play scored the bout in favor of Gordon. Also turning in a wrong decision scorecard was MMA, and they put wrong in quotations. Scorecard was MMA judge Ron McCarthy, son of veteran judge Big John McCarthy. So dude's in a little bit of heat.
I would definitely say so. I mean, this is something that's been unfortunately making some headway and tying into another story that has been going around about MMA fight fixing, if you will. Mm-hmm. So this is something that I'm going to be reading from an article from Mark Romandi from ESPN. And where I was reading the fighter stats there, ESPN MMA.
Okay.
So I want to just clarify that. But here is Romandi's article. So to quote, "Fight fixing is now a quote-unquote huge concern for the UFC amid several investigations and suspicious betting activity around about last month," UFC President Dana White told ESPN. A November 5th UFC fight between Darek Miner and Shailen Nurendambiki, apologize for the name butchering, is under scrutiny after a dramatic betting line movement in the hours before the event. The Nevada State Athletic Commission has suspended both Miner and his coach, James Krause, who ran an MMA betting Discord page and podcast pending its investigation. So this is when asked by ESPN's Brett Okamoto in an interview Thursday whether fight fixing is concerned, Dana White said, quote, "Huge concern. Now there's an investigation and it could be possible that happened. Yeah," end quote. So This is now becoming something that is taking on a life of its own.
Yeah, and even got brought up. I'm going to play a little clip from Ariel Helwani's MMA Hour podcast YouTube show that aired on Monday. Here's the quote.
Here's the issue, and it once again was put in the spotlight this weekend. On Friday night, I'm watching Danny Sabatello versus Rafion Stotts. Rafion Stotts won that fight 48-47. I didn't see a lot of other people disagree, except for one. His name is Douglas Crosby. This guy should not be judging fights. He has too many conflicts. What he does time and again, I believe, this is my belief. This is not now something that I have evidence, but this is my belief based on enough of his scorecards that I think he wants to be in such good graces with the promoters, because I know he loves Dana White, and I know he tries to curry favor with him. He tries to score fights based on what he thinks the promoter wants. So he scores it for Danny Sabatello because he thinks that that's the guy that they want. He scores it for Patty Pimblett. Now, we should also say the two other judges scored it for Patty as well. So he's not the only guy at fault. But I cannot believe in a time where our sport is being questioned, our integrity is being questioned, you're now going to fly and do a major UFC event? Time out. There are enough judges to do this where you could sit this one out. And then he has another suspect. When is this going to stop? As I've said time and again, these judges need to answer for these things. They don't. They need to be questioned. They are not. They need to be put in timeout. They are not. To get these dinosaurs who have conflicts and friendships and rivalries and enemies with fighters, active fighters, out of the sport. I don't believe that the UFC fixed that fight. I don't believe that. But I think that he's sitting there thinking, let me score this for Patty because I want Dana White to like me. That's what I think is happening.
So that clip comes to us courtesy of Ariel Helwani's official Twitter account. So obviously there's some issues going on with this judge that, listen, Ariel Helwani is one of, if not the best MMA journalist in the business. You know, say what you will about whether your own opinions about him. I think when it comes to some of this stuff, I think he hits the nail on the head more often than not.
I agree, too. I mean, I think Helwani has been on point, too. And like we say, in looking at the Raimondi article from ESPN.com that I was reading, the interview that Pad was playing, too, from Ariel Helwani, there is a lot of speculation going on with these fights. And when you see judging, like you saw in the Pimblett fight, you really have to question it. And I hate saying this. I really do. But it's a situation that, watching that fight, you got to raise questions about. And I can understand, okay, we're fans and we're mad, you know, you don't like how the decision came out. But I think you can't just look away from this, especially now with all this other shenanigans going on outside. I mean, this is just going to be something that the fights are going to be watching, and especially looking at this fight. I mean, this is a prime example. Like, how do you come up with this when the judging was so far off from everybody else? Like, it just doesn't add up.
And you had a couple of fighters weigh in on Doug Crosby specifically. Al Iaquinta tweeting about the Sabatello fight specifically a couple of days ago on December 9th, saying, quote, did Doug Crosby have it 50-45 for Sabatello? Question mark, exclamation point, LMAO, close quote. And then he quote tweeted a photo or a tweet from MMA Fighting about the Sabatello fight with the one account saying MMA scoring is wild, to which Al Iaquinta quoted it and said, to quote, Doug Crosby is always the odd judge out and by a large margin. He must have dirt on whatever high-ranking official sanctions these fights. Thinking emoji. No way he should be there, close quote. And then somebody replied to Al saying, quote, training at James Krause's gym would have been a better decision, close quote, to which Al Iaquinta said, since we're taking fixing fights, FBI should look into Doug Crosby, close quote.
Ouch.
Yeah. And then you also had, and I'm trying to dig up the specific tweet, Ben Askren also had said some stuff about Doug Crosby that he was none too thrilled with either.
Yeah, I mean, this is a situation that, looking at that judging, you have to really take a hard stance and look, and you have to come up with your own decisions about this. Doing the eye test for me personally, like, I don't understand how you judge this fight. I really don't. And I'm not saying this being a Gordon fan, because I'm not. I mean, I don't mind him as a fighter, but it's not. I have no real stake in this. I'm just looking at it as an observant fan going, like, how do you judge this? And you can't. And for Pimblett, we know the UFC is very high on him. We talked about this last week, but it doesn't warrant this.
Yeah, found the tweet. It is from 11:30 p.m. on December 9th, where Ben Askren tweeted, quote, YTF is Doug Crosby still judging fights? 3 question marks, close quote.
Yeah. There's a lot, like I say, this is just a very dark cloud looming over the UFC right now, because you factor in what happened with James Krause in his camp, like I said, from the Mark Raimondi article on ESPN.com. I highly recommend people read that, because he did a fantastic job breaking that whole scenario down, because there's just so much involved there.
Yeah.
And then now you see with the Pimblett fight, there is questions and whispers getting mentioned, and they're getting louder.
Well, and maybe this is just me projecting what's going on onto the past, but how many fights, and it's not a large percentage, but you think of some of the fights you and I have watched even before this podcast, where we were watching and then it went to the judge's scorecard, and Bruce Buffer or whoever was reading off the scorecard after the fight read the scorecard, and you and I both, and whoever we were watching with, all collectively went, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So is it a case that this is stretching back a long time? I don't know. Is it possible? Sure.
Well, you always kind of wonder where the truth of the whole "don't leave it in the hands of the judges" quote really came from.
Yeah.
I mean, just speculation.
There have been a lot of fights over the years that you and I have seen, though, that it gets to the judges' scorecards, and we're like, oh, yeah, that person clearly won, without even looking at the stats.
Yeah.
Just looking at the eye test and how the fight went, we're like, oh, yeah, fighter A clearly won. And then they get to the scorecard, and they go, oh, yeah, unanimous decision or split decision, fighter B. And we're like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, which, like I say, the whole saying there is "don't leave it in the hands of the judges." I think, like I say, now you hear that statement now, and there's so much more of a bad feeling around it than it should have been. Like I say, I know it was not the case when it was first said.
Right.
So I'll just put the whole allegedly out there. But in this situation, you really got to step back and go, okay,
maybe there's a reason behind it.
maybe there is. And it's sad to say, and I hate saying this about any fights. This is just something, if this is going on, the UFC really needs to clamp down and stop this.
Right. And
I stress if.
Right. And we don't know if anything's going on, but I think personally, I think there's some smoke to this, because it's not just a couple of fans saying some things. It's not just a couple of journalists saying some things. When you've got fighters weighing in on specific judges and going, why are they still doing this? And this happens more often than not with this specific judge. I think there might be some smoke to that fire.
I do too, and I think this will be something the UFC will be addressing, and I think that they understand how much this is a very bad look for them, and I think they don't want to have any part of this, and I think they'll be very smart and act very swiftly. I honestly do. I think that they will obviously be dealing with this investigation and moving forward with it, and I think you're going to see some swift change, because if they don't, yikes. And that'll just put it that mildly. But I think Dana White and the powers that be there are that smart that they will address this very quickly.
Oh, they're going to put the squash on this immediately.
Yeah, and I don't see that judge coming back anytime soon.
No.
I don't see how they would ever allow that.
It took them so long to get legitimized, I guess.
Exactly.
In the people's eyes, that it went from, this is a barbaric sport where guys just beat the shit out of each other, to where it's one of the biggest sports on the planet. I'm not going to say it's the biggest, because it's not. But one of the biggest sports on the planet, and it cannot afford a black eye like this.
No, it cannot. So definitely UFC will have to address this, and very quickly, and stay tuned, because we'll be talking about it more so as the new year is rolling into it.
Yep. And then last fight on the card we got to talk is the light heavyweight division fight for the vacant UFC light heavyweight championship, which was between Jan Blachowicz and Magomed Ankalaev. And, there's still no champion, because this was a split decision draw, with the fight going 48-47, 46-48, and 47-47.
Yeah, I had this Magnov winning, not by much, but I did have him winning this.
So pulled up these scorecards, because I know some people will be interested in how the fuck we got here. The one judge, Mike Bell, scored the first 3 rounds for Blachowicz, 10-9, and then gave the final 2 rounds to Ankalaev, 10-9, so 48-47. You had the blue judge, Derek Clearly, score the first 2 rounds for Blachowicz, 10-9, and gave the final 3 rounds to Ankalaev, 10-9, so 46-48. And then the pink judge, Sal D'Amato, who gave the first 3 rounds to Blachowicz, 10-9, gave the first 3 rounds 10-9 to Blachowicz, gave the 4th round to Ankalaev, 10-9, and then gave the final 5th round to Ankalaev, 10-8. So that's how they ended up with the 47-47.
Yeah.
Scoring's weird.
Scoring is weird, and another case. Now, obviously, a different case than the Pimblett argument.
Yeah.
But still, a very bad way to end a fight like this.
Hoping to get somebody on the vacant title. Now, there's not anybody on the title yet.
No, because immediately after in the presser, it was announced that Glover Teixeira will fight Jamal Hill for the belt at UFC 283 on January 21st in Brazil.
Right.
So that was swift action by Dana White because obviously they don't want to have a division held up by no champion. And Yuri is sitting there just chomping at the bit to come back. So when Prochaska is ready to come back, I think that it's going to be a very tough task for whoever's in front of him because I think he's going to be ready to do some damage the minute he walks in.
And shout out Jerry, who had probably my favorite reaction after the fight was over, tweeting from his official Twitter account, quote, "I just watched the, quote unquote, title fight. Everyone knows who the champion is. Just give me some time. Lightning emoji, prayer emoji, lightning emoji," close quote.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's going to be out a while, and like we've said, we've touted his praises here for stepping back.
Yeah.
Because he'll get the first title shot when he's back. And I'm telling you right now, he's seeing all this nonsense going on with his belt, and he's going...
Currently still the number one ranked fighter.
As he should be. No, I don't think they should take him out of that position. You can definitely schedule fights around him. But I think that this is going to be one of those situations where when he comes back, he's going to be ready to go. And like I say, for Blachowicz and Magnov, I would have gave it to Magnov. This fight didn't really have any sizzle to it.
No.
There's nothing really to write home about. I know Blachowicz was saying at the end, he's like, oh, well, Magnov won the fight. It's like, when you start putting stuff out like that, it's just like...
You're not helping your case, my guy.
No, it isn't. So this did not put a good taste in anybody's mouths watching this fight or coming from this, and especially from the build-up. I mean, which will just kind of just wrap this up and saying this had all the premise to be a really great card. The two main events really didn't deliver,
right?
And you can't really end a fight like this on a tie. And I understand it happens; it is what it is.
Yeah,
still don't agree with it, but at least Dana White is addressing them. The two issues, like I say.
Yeah.
The Pimblett thing is something to watch moving forward. I don't know where he goes from here. He'll be featured in a big fight against somebody. I don't think he's going to be cracking into the top 10 anytime soon.
No.
But I think he'll get another high-profile fight. He'll be in a co-main, and then just depending on how that all goes is where he goes from here. And then in that light heavyweight division, it's going to be anybody's guess. But, I mean, Teixeira and Hill, that'll be a good fight.
Yeah, I'll say that's the next light heavyweight bout on the UFC's matchup for UFC 283, which is January 21st of the new year. That looks like it's going to be in the main event. Also of note on that card, probably going to be in the co-main event, is the unification fight for the flyweight belt between Figueiredo and Moreno.
Interesting.
So that's on the card as well. Well, you've also got Burns and Magny on that card as well.
Yeah, they're putting together a solid card for that one.
Yeah.
So,
that one's in Brazil too.
Yep, that's indeed. So
that's why they're stacking it.
Oh yeah, no, they're definitely gonna pull out all the stops for this card, and obviously the UFC wants to kick off 2023 in a good way because obviously there's a lot of bad press right now with them, and it's a shame too.
Yeah.
So obviously the powers to be will take care of that, and then we'll be speculating going on from here. But that's why we ask you, the ODPH Society, to jump in the conversation. So hit us up on that hashtag ODPHpod. What is your thoughts from UFC 282? I know our guy Mike from the Multiverse of Badness is going to have a lot to say about this. I know that we have a lot of other friends watching UFC are going to be chiming in about this as well. I want to get their temps in the room. I really want their opinions about what is going on with the whole scandals that are allegedly going down, and how, what's the easiest way to fix this? And then what's your thoughts on the light heavyweight title asterisk, whatever you want to define that as?
Kerfuffle.
Is just a mess right now, but that's why we're here to talk about it. So let's continue that conversation, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of watching the same old awesome movies? Are B movies more your style? Then the folks over at They Call This a Movie have you covered. Join us every Thursday as we review the worst of the worst in sci-fi, action, comedy, and more. We are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Podbean at theycalledthisamovie.podbean.com. They Called This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got?
Got a couple things to talk about. Obviously, got to talk some local sports, because looking at the standings for the Federal Prospects Hockey League, that is the hockey league that our local Binghamton Black Bears play in the Empire Division, they are still in second place behind Danbury, who is 15-1-1. Binghamton here 13-4-2, so still doing pretty well for themselves. And then looking at their schedule from the past week of games, they had a game on Friday on the road in playing the Delaware Thunder, where they won by the final score of 7-2. They came back home on Saturday night to play the Delaware Thunder again, which was teddy bear toss that night. Did not have to wait long for the teddy bear toss because, 12 seconds into the game, Binghamton scored, and the teddy bears came raining from the rafters. Awesome to see. And so Binghamton won that game by the final score of 6-3. Looking ahead to their games they have this upcoming week, they're at home on Friday, December 16th. Start time is 7 o'clock p.m. They're playing the Watertown Wolves. And then they're back on the road on Saturday, December 17th, 7 o'clock Eastern, playing the Delaware Thunder again. They return home next week. For more tickets, information, and all that good stuff, BinghamtonBlackBears.com. Then we got to switch over to the World Cup because, hey, we're nearing the end of the World Cup.
Crazy to think.
I know. It went by so quickly. USA, unfortunately, is out, although, let's be honest, this bracket is playing out like a lot of, you got that one person in your office or in your life who might fill out a college basketball bracket, and they just pick all upsets.
Yeah.
Kind of how this one's feeling. Because in the semifinal matchups, you had Argentina taking on Croatia, which I think a lot of people probably would have had Argentina in the semifinals. Lionel Messi, one of the best players on the planet, depending on your own personal opinion, was placed for Argentina. So I think a lot of people would have had Argentina there. Croatia, maybe, maybe not. And then on the other side of the bracket, you had France, who with Mbappe there. A lot of people would have figured they probably would have been there, but hey, you never know. And then you got the Cinderella story that is Morocco in the semifinal matchup. So one semifinal matchup did take place today as we record, where Argentina beat Croatia by a final score of 3-0. So you do have Argentina moving on to the final. And then the game with France and Morocco takes place on December 14th. Check your local listings for us here in the States. It starts at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And they are taking each other on, where the winner will go on to take Argentina on in the World Cup final, which is scheduled to take place on December 18th at 10 o'clock Eastern on Fox. And then the third place game will take place on December 17th at 10 o'clock Eastern on Fox, where whoever loses between France and Morocco will take on Croatia for third place.
Interesting.
So Argentina might get Lionel Messi that elusive World Cup win. You never know. Could happen.
Yeah.
There's been a weird World Cup. I'll say that.
It definitely has been. So who knows? I mean, I'm kind of rooting for Messi to pull this
Oh,
off.
I am too, because let's be honest, the next World Cup's not for another 4 years. Might not see Messi playing in that one. So this could be, the last ride for Messi. And then we got to talk some baseball deals. Not going to talk them all because it's a long list because of the Rule 5 stuff, but talking some of the deals that went through.
There's only one deal we really need to talk about.
There's a couple. For the Mets, they signed Japanese pitcher Kodai Senga, who you might not know the name, but Christ almighty, you're going to soon. So he is a pitcher who has been pitching in the Nippon Baseball League, which is the highest level of professional baseball in Japan. So he is 30. He'll be 30 years old this upcoming season. His primary position is a pitcher. 6 feet tall, 178 pounds. Bats left, throws right. His numbers last year. Listen to this. No, listen to these numbers. So his last season in the Nippon Baseball League, he went 11-6, a 1.94 ERA, 156 strikeouts, 27 walks, and 144 innings pitched.
Not too shabby.
That's pretty damn good.
I would say so.
And for his career in the baseball over in Japan for the Nippon Baseball League, 87-44, 2.59 ERA, 1,252 strikeouts, 414 walks, and 1,089 innings pitched. God damn. Pretty decent pitcher, although there are some folks saying they overpaid for him. I think they paid I think once you get past this, what they signed him for, and then the posting fee was over $100 million. But hey, on paper, seems good.
It's a good deal on paper, and they needed somebody to replace DeGrom. Is he the end all be all answer? No, but they needed something to really get their fan base excited. Yeah. Makes the most sense.
Well, they're so far. We'll get to that in a minute. They're so far in the luxury tax. It's not even funny,
right?
Because they also signed former Yankees pitcher David Robertson to a 1-year, $10 million contract to bolster that bullpen there. You had the Philadelphia Phillies sign Trey Turner, the shortstop, to a 11-year, $300 million contract.
Get out of here.
There is a full no trade, and this is according to Spotrac.com. He has a full no trade clause. He gets $50,000 for each All-Star, League Championship Series MVP, Silver Slugger Award, Gold Glove Award, and World Series MVP award. And then he gets $500,000 for an MVP award, $50,000 for second, and $25,000 for third. Currently, he is 29 years old. But so they'll be paying this man until he's 40. Although, take solace, by the time this contracts are over, the Mets will still be paying Bobby Bonilla.
Yep.
That's all you need to know.
That's the craziest stat ever.
Speaking of the Mets, they did sign center fielder Brandon Nimmo to a 8-year, $162 million deal.
What the?
He got a full no-trade clause, and this, again, according to Spotrac.com. He can win $200,000 if he wins MVP, $150,000 if he finishes in second, $50,000 if he finishes in third, and then he gets $100,000 each for a Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, LCS MVP, and All-Star MVP. And then if he wins the World Series MVP, he gets $150,000. Don't get me wrong, guy's good. Is he worth that much money?
He ain't that good.
Not that much to me.
No way.
And then you had the Xander Bogaerts left Boston, was a free agent. He is signing with the San Diego Padres for an 11-year, $280 million contract. He is currently 30 years old, so they will be paying him until he's 40. This does include a full no-trade clause, so interestingly, though, he is a shortstop. They've already got a shortstop, so what happens? Does Xander Bogaerts move to another position? Does Tatis Jr. move to another position? I know there's a lot of rumors swirling that the Yankees might trade for him. I don't believe it.
I don't buy it.
I don't buy it either. I know Jack Curry from the Yes Network, that's the Yankees television broadcast, that spoke to somebody in the Yankees organization. The Yankees organization said they haven't even thought about it or talked about it. So I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll see.
I'm not holding any breath on that one. I think they're just trying to do it to create some buzz. Hopefully they were hoping somebody buy into it because he's got such a crazy contract.
Yeah. And then, like you mentioned, the Mets had to replace Jacob deGrom, and boy, did they ever. They signed Justin Verlander to a 2-year, $86 million contract with a option for the third year. So, good Lord. Although, got to note, he is 39 years old. He will be 40 by the time the new season's, because he's 39 years and 306 days old. So, he will be 40 by the time this season starts. But, boy, you wouldn't know it based on the numbers.
No, Verlander's found a way to kind of extend that career out. So, I mean, he's not known as a power pitcher anyway, so he'll be fine in New York. I think he'll add some veteran leadership there.
Have fun with the lack of run support.
Yeah, but you know what? He's already won enough. I don't think he's too worried about that. I think he knew that he was going to get a big deal, and this is the best place that he could land, and especially in New York, that he'll make the money back.
Yeah. And then the one contract that matters to us the most, and the one that had to get done, and it did get done, Aaron Judge signed a 9-year, $360 million contract to stay with the New York Yankees, $360 of it guaranteed. He's got an annual average salary of $40 million a year. So that is the largest average salary for a contract for a position player in Major League Baseball history at signing, and it is the largest total value free agent contract in Major League Baseball history at signing. So they got their man. Now just give him the captainship, and he's good.
That's what's going to happen.
Also, he's got a full no-trade clause.
And the one thing we speculated about last week is we all thought he was coming back anyway.
Yeah.
He tested the market. He did the smart thing. He tested to see what everybody else is throwing at him.
Yeah.
We knew other teams threw more money at him. Mm-hmm. Allegedly, San Diego threw $400 million.
San Diego was allegedly more, and the Yankees found out about it. And then the way the story goes is that the Yankees reached out to Judge, and Hal Steinbrenner specifically reached out to Judge and said, "Do you want to be a Yankee?" To which Judge reportedly told him yes, and Hal asked, "What would it take to make you a Yankee?" And it was sounded so, and then reportedly Judge said a 9th year. So it sounds like the Yankees were going 8, and then they found out the other teams might be going more. They got a little nervous. Asked him, "What'll it take?" He goes 9th year, and they went and did it.
The ghost of George possessed Hal, and I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
We needed Judge back because, love it or hate it, he is the face of the franchise as of right now. To have lost him would have been detrimental.
Yeah.
But we said if he left, he was going for the money. He didn't care about winning. This solidified he was definitely about winning, and he wants to win in New York. The pressure did not get to him for everybody saying, "Oh, he should have left. He can't handle New York. New York doesn't know how to treat fans." Listen, if you want to play for fans that give a shit, you play in New York.
Yes, you do.
And sometimes when things don't go right, they let you know. But I tell you what, when you do play up to what you should be doing, if you're leaving it all on the field, you're giving 110%, they will love you. See, this is also the argument. I know we're going to kind of switch sports for a second.
Sure.
This is why Henrik Lundqvist has his number hanging in the Garden.
Yeah.
Did he ever win a chip there? Unfortunately, no. But he did everything in his damn power to try. Mm-hmm. And New York respects that.
Yeah.
The same thing will be said for Judge if he can't pull off a chip, but you're in the best position each and every year to win.
Look at Mattingly. Mattingly never won a title when he was with the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Still beloved by that franchise, or by the fan base.
Because you know what? He played hard. He gave everything he had. He did not falter. He didn't get mad when people booed. This is New York.
Yeah.
There are certain towns that, trust me, when you step up and play, they'll respect you. As much as I hate them, I give credit to Boston.
Sure.
Boston's the same way. New York is the same way. Chicago is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
The Dodgers are the same way to an extent. Not as overly vocal.
Sure.
Philly is more.
Yeah.
But that's where you want to go, because if you win there, you're a legend.
Oh, yeah.
If you win in Kansas City, unfortunately, you're forgotten in baseball. I'm sorry, it is.
Well, you're a legend in that area, and past that, man.
Right, but I mean, when you talk about like the historic times, like, I mean, if you win in Kansas City, sure, that's a big deal. But
Yeah.
I'm saying, in like retrospect, Kansas City is a small market.
Yeah, they are.
The Royals are not the front page news every time. The Yankees are front page every time.
Yeah.
So it's, what do you want to do? What do you want to win? Or do you want to go out to San Francisco, where you might have a good season here or there, so to speak, but the Giants
on even numbered years.
The Giants haven't been consistent enough to win each year. They just haven't.
Just on even years.
Yep, they're very streaky. So I don't think Judge understood this. He understood what was going on. Same thing with the Padres.
You don't understand what I'm talking about. Their last 3 World Series title wins were all on years that were even numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Go look it up.
Yeah, I'm saying. So Judge knows if he can win this, he's a legend for life.
Yeah.
And this is a question he proves he wants to win. So you know what? We're happy to have him back.
Absolutely.
He's going to be the captain by the time season starts. That's probably the safest lock we can make for 2023.
Oh, yeah.
I can't see them giving it to somebody else.
They don't give. Well, that's the thing. The captainship isn't like NFL or NHL where they have to have one. It's kind of a customary honorary clubhouse thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, especially if you look at the history of captains with the Yankees, there's great stretches where there aren't any,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like a withheld thing for guys who are the leader of the team and are the leader in the clubhouse. And Judge is clearly the leader in the clubhouse. They're going to give it to him. I just like to think that it's at this point, it's a conversation they're going to have at some point. Just given the whirlwind free agency he just had and all the phone calls and all the air miles he logged and all this, they're like, hey, we'll have that conversation down the road. Enjoy your off season.
He'll be doing it opening day.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest.
Opening day or like the opening of spring training.
Yeah, by spring training they'll announce it, but they'll make a big they'll make a big deal about that merch.
Yeah.
For him being captain.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I see it happening already. But this is what the Yankees needed to do. Just got to get some more pitching, but you know what? The season will come when it comes.
Mm-hmm.
We still got, 6 more weeks till pitchers and catchers?
Something like that. It's like
eight more weeks.
Yeah, it's like 100. I think we're near or just over 100 days till opening day.
Right. So at least the Yankees did what they needed to do. So kudos to them.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and Rich doesn't have to become a self-hating Mets fan.
Yes, because, well, yeah, that's a tough burden.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Rich, we were talking on 607 TWS about a lot of pro wrestling going on, and I think the card of the weekend is what we're going to be talking to Pat about, because Pat is a huge WWE NXT fan, and definitely has some opinions about NXT Deadline, which went down this past Saturday from the Performance Center on the Peacock Network. One of the best deals in all of pro wrestling to get for your WWE fix.
It's up there, yeah.
So let's talk about this card.
Yeah, so this was, like we mentioned, the NXT Deadline card, which took place from the Capitol Wrestling Center, that being the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, on Peacock, which you can find the replay at. 2 dark matches that took place before the show started, gotta mention. You had Ivy Nile defeated Lash Legend in a singles matchup, and then you had Chase University.
Chase U!
Specifically, Duke Hudson and Andre Chase defeated Javier Bernal and Zion Quinn in a tag team matchup.
I love Chase U. Like, I'm sorry.
They're growing on me.
They're hysterical.
They're growing on me. At first, I was like, I don't really know about this, but you know what? They're growing on me.
Yeah, like that's the whole thing about them. Like they grow on you, and especially when they did the mock media scrum.
Yeah,
that skit was hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. So then on the deadline card specifically, you had the first match on the card was the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge. This was to determine the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship. And this was between Roxanne Perez, Zoe Stark, Cora Jade, Kiana James, and Indy Hartwell. And you had Roxanne Perez emerge victorious in 25 minutes, which was ended up being the time limit for this specific match. Win with 2 pinfalls to become the new number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship.
And we should note that the winners of each Iron Survivor match are going to be facing the champions, respectively, on January 4th for New Year's Evil on the USA Network.
Okay.
So this match, great match. I was really impressed because when we went into this, nobody really knew what this Iron Survivor thing was going to be.
No.
And it's a mix of the King of the Mountain from TNA and a little bit of War Games from WWE.
Yeah.
And it kind of mixes a little bit of an Iron Man match or Iron Woman match in there as well, where whoever gets the most pins within the allotted time wins the match. However, if you get pinned, you need to go to the penalty box, so you're out of the running to get pins. It's kind of a unique concept. It grew on me, but it's also due to the performance of the women involved in this match.
Yeah.
Because they really set a good pace for it.
Sure.
And a good example like what could be going on with this, because they were definitely trying to steal the show, and I love this.
Oh yeah, no, the match was good. You know, I was a little confused how this was going to work just because of the way the rules were set up. One, because I thought the match was going to work like a War Games, where the match wasn't going to officially start until all competitors were in the ring. No, it started once you had the first 2 competitors in the ring. So I'm like, oh okay. My one issue with the match was the whole penalty box thing. I like the penalty box. Don't get me wrong; it's a cool thing. You know, it adds punishment to you losing. The thing I didn't like though is that the timer on the wrestler that went to the penalty box started as soon as the pinfall was over. So whoever took, I forget who it was, took that first pinfall. By the time they got to the penalty box, it was like 30 or 40. So it was like a minute and a half they're supposed to be in the penalty box or something like that.
Give take.
Now, the penalty box, if you didn't watch, was on the entrance ramp on the opposite sides from where the wrestlers actually come out. So it was a little ways away, which I get for spacing and confinement and not having a whole lot of space. That's why they had to do it.
Yeah.
But just with where it was situated and the way it worked, I didn't like how whoever took that first pinfall, it was like 30 to 45 seconds left by the time they actually got to the penalty box. I think if you do this match, this card again, or this match again at a bigger venue, put the penalty box a little closer to the ring, just because they like to sell the injuries and they're like, they're getting out really slow. I didn't like how it was like 30, 45 seconds. So basically half the time had gone by the time the person was actually to the penalty box. That was my one complaint with the match. Other than that, the match was awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I think, and that's a great call out too, Pat, because I didn't even realize that at the time. For being a brand new match, you weren't sure how it was going to go, and I think they put a good pace on it, and I think it definitely explained. Kiana James, first time I really saw her wrestle, she looked really good.
She's good.
Like in the ring, like just timing wise, hit a great Spanish fly, I believe, too.
Yeah,
like a great flying move. Like, she was really impressive in this match. But kudos to Roxanne Perez. I think she's going to win the belt off Mandy Rose too. I fully think that's going to happen.
Next up was a singles matchup where Ela Dawn defeated Alba Fire via pinfall in 9 minutes and 52 seconds.
Probably my least favorite match on the night.
Match was okay. You know, I understand what they're trying to do, and I kind of understood the angle, although that might be because I played 230 some odd hours in Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah.
So I understand the whole Scottish mysticism thing going on, you know, which that game takes place in England, for those of you who don't know. You know, so I understood what they were trying to do. A little too much for me. You know, it was a good matchup, though.
Yeah, whenever you start dancing around supernatural stuff in pro wrestling, it's either a big win, a la The Undertaker, certain things with Bray Wyatt.
Sure.
And sometimes it's a big miss. A lot of stuff on Impact concerning... Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's been certain angles that have just kind of gone really... off the deep end, in my opinion. Like, don't get me wrong, love Impact Wrestling, but I was not a big fan of a lot of supernatural stuff.
Sure.
And some things of Bray Wyatt, too, I'm not a big fan of. So, that all said, this match, just a little too much supernatural stuff for me and my liking, but solid match. Not the worst.
Next up was the New Day. With Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods taking on Pretty Deadly, that being Elton Prince and Kit Wilson for the NXT Tag Team Championships, because you had Pretty Deadly being like, hey, we cleaned out the division. We're the best. We got nobody left to face. In come the New Day going, we've held a lot of belts over our years as champions. The WWE Tag Team Champions, Raw Tag Team Champions, SmackDown Tag Team Champions. One tag team championship we haven't held. It's that one.
Mm-hmm.
So they challenged Pretty Deadly for the championship, in which you had the New Day emerge victorious to become your new NXT Tag Team Championships, winning via pinfall in 14 minutes, 5 seconds. Highlight of this match has to be the 4 competitors doing the Eddie Guerrero spot with the belt in the middle of the ring. Oh my God, that was incredible.
Amazing. I thought this could have been match of the weekend. Mm-hmm. The chemistry these 4 had was very, very impressive. Mm-hmm. Pretty Deadly is going to be big on the main roster. I think for anybody that wants an easy comparison, they're almost like the Fashion Police.
Yes.
But turned up to 11. I think that they are definitely going to be characters made for the main roster, and they can go in the ring too.
Yeah.
And for the New Day, it's perfect because obviously with the Usos dominating the tag team division
and holding the belts for at least another 4 months.
Exactly. They'll hold them to Mania. The New Day needs something.
Right.
And this is a win for NXT too, because a lot of people are tuning in to see what the New Day is going to do down there.
Right.
It'll help give them some fresh opponents to wrestle.
Yeah.
And really elevate their status. And obviously they're going to go down as one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
But to have the NXT titles, bring them up to SmackDown, have them showcased up there, you're going to get more people to tune into NXT.
And even if you're going to have a matchup between the New Day and an NXT tag team, you could have it on NXT. Why not do it on SmackDown?
Yeah, you can definitely feature some other people, see if they're ready for prime time. There's just so much win to this. And for Kofi Kingston, too, he now sets the record for 15-time World Tag Team Champion, I believe.
Yeah.
Impressive.
That's crazy.
Amazing. But kudos to them. Great match.
Next up was your co-main event of the evening, and this was the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge, where the winner of this became the number 1 contender for the NXT Championship. And you had the competitors in this were Grayson Waller, Carmelo Hayes, JD McDonough, Joe Gacy, and Axiom. And you had Grayson Waller emerge victorious with three pinfalls, winning in 25 minutes to become the new number 1 contender for the NXT Championship.
So this match impressed me.
Yeah.
More so than I thought it was. Grayson Waller is such a man. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find the right adjective. He's such an annoyance, but man, he sold me on this.
Yeah.
I honestly did not think he was going to be that great in this. I thought Joe Gacy looked really good. I was hoping he pulled it off. But I understand why they went with Grayson.
I do too, but listen, Gacy didn't win, but he did come out of this a winner because I don't want to say they protected him a little bit, but he pointed something out on social media, and that was he didn't win, and he did finish with 2 pinfalls. He wasn't pinned, though.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little interesting tidbit to note that while he didn't win, he also wasn't pinned.
Yeah, no, that was definitely very telling because Axiom was getting pinned left and right.
Axiom took, and this is off the Wikipedia page, somebody was nice enough to provide a statistics bracket. Axiom took 1, 2, took back-to-back pinfalls, 3, 4, he took 4 pinfalls.
Yeah. But he made the most of his time because I read the one time he was fighting McDonough in the cage there. So
yeah.
But it was an entertaining match as all could be, and Grayson Waller stole this one in the most chicken shit heel way possible.
Yeah.
Because Carmelo Hayes, I'm telling you what, when he gets to the main roster, get ready.
Oh, yeah.
His athleticism is second to none, and I can't wait. Some of the matchups, I can only imagine what he's going to be doing.
It's going to be good.
But he definitely got he hit his finisher on, I want to say it was almost Axiom again, too.
Yeah.
And before he could get the pin, he was shoved out of the ring. Grayson Waller stole the pin with under a minute left.
Yep.
And then Carmelo Hayes went back in, and then Waller pulled the body outside the ring so he couldn't get the pin there and was running around the ring trying not to get touched.
Yes.
And burned up the clock.
Yeah, so with 24 minutes and 30 seconds left, Axiom was pinned by Grayson Waller, and the Wikipedia table does note, under notes it says, Axiom was pinned after Hayes hit Axiom with a diving leg drop.
Yeah. So
yeah.
It was kind of crazy to see, but Grayson Waller steals the win.
Yeah.
And now has a title shot against Braun Breaker.
Probably won't win, but it'll be good.
Well, we'll talk about that, obviously, because with Breaker facing Apollo Crews in the main event. Mm-hmm. And this match, very solid match.
Good match, yeah. I can't remember the last time I cared this much about an Apollo Crews matchup.
Well, since he's been in NXT, he's another wrestler that is now reinvented himself, a la Mandy Rose. down in NXT. He's definitely looking more comfortable in the primetime spotlight.
Yeah.
Not saying he wasn't before, but I think that when he came in, obviously a big name, and then when you get called to the main roster, sometimes it just doesn't click.
Right.
And I think in his case, he's athletic as all can be.
Oh, God, yeah.
But charisma-wise, you just didn't have it. Same thing could be said for Mandy Rose when she first came up.
Right.
Because it didn't go over as well.
Well, and if memory serves, you could tell Apollo was still a work in progress when he went back down to NXT, because wasn't Commander Aziz still with him when he first showed up back in NXT?
Yeah, so it was kind of an interesting time period for him.
Work in progress.
But this is something that I think the WWE higher-ups know what they have with Apollo Crews.
Yeah.
And putting him in this kind of program, I think, is only going to help elevate him. The match was very solid, and especially for Braun Breaker, it's a great win. Mm-hmm. But the only thing I didn't like about this match is Breaker was taking a lot of punishment.
Sure.
And instantly out of nowhere hit the spear to get the win.
Oh, yeah.
Hated that finish. Not as much as the Ring of Honor show that we will not talk about here, and the worst finish I've seen in modern pro wrestling in quite some time.
Swing, baby, swing.
Oh, my God. You want to hear that rant, 607 TWS. But I thought this match, that was the only thing I thought was a drawback, so I wouldn't doubt that we see Apollo Crews face Braun Breaker again at some point.
Sure.
I just don't see when they're going to do it right away, because after this match, Grayson Waller came in, hit his finisher on Braun Breaker, set up the shot, obviously, for New Year's Eve on January 4th.
Yep.
Overall, Pat, final thoughts on the card?
Good card. This was probably the closest to a takeover card of the black and gold era we've gotten to. And top to bottom, I really liked it. The only thing that was like the lowest rated, quote unquote, match on the card was the Isla Dawn Alba Fire match. And listen, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen.
No, it definitely wasn't bad.
But if I'm ranking, what is it, 1 to 5, that one just falls at the bottom just because there was better stuff ahead of it.
That's the whole thing. I agree with you too. It wasn't that it was bad in the ring. It was just anytime you start dealing with supernatural shit, it's extremely hit or miss.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, like, this was a very, very good card top to bottom. I think the men's match definitely kind of stole the show a little bit, even though the New Day and Pretty Deadly are right there at number 2.
Yeah.
The women's match is right there at number 3 for the Iron Survivor. So, like I say, there's a lot of win to be had here.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying anything was like bad.
Right.
But I think it was very solid overall. But there's certain moments that stand out. And for NXT, obviously with Shawn Michaels at the helm, I think is taking steps back to be going to NXT 1.0, the black and gold era.
As close as it can get, yeah.
Yeah, but being different, too, at the same time, because it doesn't feel like a super indie.
It's got some of the same vibes and some of the same feelings to it, but it doesn't feel like a carbon copy.
No, it definitely doesn't. So
yeah.
I'm excited to see where they go in the next year, and obviously there'll be some headlines coming out of that that we'll definitely be talking about here on the ODPH. And for more pro wrestling content, obviously 607 TWS on your favorite podcast provider. And remember to vote for the Brodies.
Yeah.
The link is up right now at odphpodcast.com, where you can find anything and everything that is the ODPH. That's all for this week. So for the one only Padawan J,
fuck the Astros.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.
This is Tom from Tom Joe Lou,
This is Matt from Sidemen Sounds.
and you're listening to ODPH Podcast.
Wanna go where no one knows my name, to the desert, the oceans, or the plains. 'Cause I wanna